Now, Canada's Prime Minister is here in Washington for his first official visit to the U.S. He and his wife arrived at the White House a short time ago to sit down for an official dinner with the U.S. President and First Lady. Justin Trudeau's trip comes as he and President Obama move forward in trying to tackle one issue that's increasingly seen as a global threat. CCTV White House correspondent Jessica Stone joins us live with the details.
And Rochelle, this news is all over the Canadian papers. This is one of them, why U.S. media can't get enough of Canada's Prime Minister. And certainly there was a lot of attention on this visit because of the star power that Justin Trudeau brings anywhere he goes these days, and especially to these meetings with the U.S. President. They primarily really have a lot in common now, especially on climate change. And so that's where we saw a lot of the progress. You know, a few years back when I went to Canada, a lot of the environmentalists there were telling me that they were really concerned that the U.S. had already gone out ahead of them in terms of curbing pollutants, and they wanted Canada to really be a leader once again in that area. Well, for the next 10 months, we've now got two leaders who do agree on climate change. They are two leaders cut from the same progressive cloth. Since meeting in the Philippines last year, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, son of famed Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, and U.S. President Barack Obama have struck up a friendship. Since the Paris climate talks, both countries have been working to align their strategies on reducing greenhouse gas emissions. On Thursday, they took the next step, committing to reduce methane emissions by 40 to 45% below 2012 levels in the next 9 years.
The President and I have announced today that we'll take ambitious action to reduce methane emissions nearly by half from the oil and gas sector.
If we don't agree, if we're not aggressive, if we're not farsighted, if we don't pool our resources around the research and development and clean energy agenda that's required to solve this problem, then other countries won't step up and it won't get solved.
In response, the top U.S. oil and gas lobby said, quote, "The last thing we need is more duplicative and costly regulations that could increase the cost of energy for Americans and that could potentially drive up greenhouse gas emissions."
Thank you.
You are home.
Thank you.
Welcome home.
While protecting the environment is common ground, acceptance of Syrian refugees is not. In the past 4 months, Canada has welcomed 25,000 Syrian refugees. The U.S. has promised to take in 10,000, but few have arrived. All this comes as both nations seek to increase border protection, but somehow cut security lines at checkpoints. They've agreed to extend pre-clearance at border crossings from airports where they already exist to train stations in Montreal and Vancouver. And the big push, there, Rochelle, is really because of trade. You know, this is the biggest trade relationship in the world, $2 billion a day, and there are 400,000 people a day that cross that border.
Now, Jess, that does seem like a very sensitive issue, especially given fears about foreign fighters and ISIL, which are factoring into the debate on Syrian refugees coming to the U.S.
That's certainly right, and this is a sensitive issue, and we're going to see it play out in both legislatures. The Parliament has not yet taken it up in Ottawa, but here in the United States, the Senate just proposed a bill that would basically pave the way for this pre-clearance agreement. It is going to be interesting to see how both countries weigh their concerns about terrorism and foreign fighters in light of what they want to do with their trade relationship.
Should make for interesting dinner conversation. Jessica Stone there live for us at the White House.